Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be making a tube bustier, and here are the measurements we'll be using. So like I have already started, here are my lines. Here I have my shoulder line which was drawn, then from my shoulder to bust line, it's here, my shoulder to under bust line, and my shoulder to waist measurement. So we're just going to draft a basic bodice pattern. So I'm going to just put a width of 4 inches and 3 inches for the depth. I'm doing this for my beginners out there. That's why I'm drafting the basic bodice for a better understanding. Okay, so from your center line here, your shoulder 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches, which I've just marked there. Go down by 1 inch because your shoulder is not straight. So for your shoulder slope, join there. Then after this, you can come down by your armhole. Mine was 16 divided by 2, which is 8. So my armhole line comes down here, making the chest line. So we'll label this the chest line here, and we can just draw our armhole like this. Get the midpoint of your armhole line. Okay, so since it's 8, the midpoint is at 4. Go in by 0.5 inch like this. Then we'll come to the chest line. So my bust is 40 divided by 4, which is 10 inches, which I'm just marking here on the chest line so that I can make a curve on my armhole. Okay, so this just guides me up to where the curve is going to reach. Then I'm going to come here and put my nipple to nipple measurement. So I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 at the bust line and at the waistline. If you're doing this directly on fabric, you mark it at 4.5. You put an allowance, a 0.5 sewing allowance. So I'm just going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement here. Then I'm going to be using a dart intake of 2 inches. So I'm going to mark 1 inch at each side. Okay, so I'll mark 1 inch this side and 1 inch this side. Then even on the under bust, I'll mark 1 inch this side and 1 inch this side. Then at the bust line, I'm going to come down by 0.5 inch. Okay, this is because we don't want our bust area to be sort of pointy. So join your lines. Then I'll just use my curve ruler to join my darts to the line here like this. And you do the same thing at the other side. So now what we want to do is to tighten also the upper bust. Okay, so we're going to do this by getting the midpoint of this slanted line here for the shoulder slanted line, and you're just going to connect the midpoint to the bust line here, just like I am doing. We're trying to come up with a dart for the upper part of your bust. So get the measurement between your bust line and your under bust line. Okay, so that measurement, mine is measuring 3, and you're going to just use this as a radius that will help you to put points on where to put the dart from. Okay, so this is the radius that you're going to use. So just make sure that 3 inch remains at the center as you continue to pivot your ruler like I'm doing. Okay, make sure it's still at the center. and you come up with something that looks like this. Okay, so from here I'll get the measurement of this dart intake, which is 2 inches. So I'm going to divide 1 inch at one side. So 1 inch will come this side and another 1 inch will come at this other side. Then I can just sort of draw up this curve to just show me where my 2-inch dart intake is starting and where it is ending, like this. So now I'll come to the bust line and I'll go up by 0.5 inch. Okay, this is also to prevent a sharp points at your bust. So I'm going to join my darts here with my curve ruler. Like this. Then I can just go ahead and sort of smoothen this area, okay, just to make it like a curve. And it does look fine. So from the chest line now, to make up my sweater neckline for the front, I'm going to go down by half an inch, so 0.5 inch here. Then I'll just get my curve ruler and I'll just join this here. If you don't have a curve ruler, you can still do it with your free hand. So I'll just join it. So at this point, if you want, you can join this directly to the armhole here, but I want mine to be a little bit lower than the armhole. So I'll get the midpoint of this line. Okay, so I'll measure it, this extension, and it's measuring 2 inches. So I'll get the midpoint, then go down by 0.5 inch, sorry. Then I'll just make a straight line here. This will be like my new sort of armhole. Okay, then I'm just going to join this. I'm just going to curve this. Okay, then I'm just going to blend that in. So we can now put the measurement. So my bust was 40 divided by 4, which is 10 inches here where the armhole curve ended. So I'm just going to get these 2 inches for this dart and I'm going to place it here. Then I'm going to place my 1.5 sewing allowance here. Okay, so I'll just drop it down to this line here because that's the one that I'll be using. Then I'll come to the waistline. My waist was 34 divided by 4, which is 8.5, plus the dart intake of 2 inches, which I'm going to add here, and 1.5 for sewing allowance. Then the next thing that you're going to do is just to join these lines, okay, from the chest line up to the waistline. Okay, there's no need for putting any lines on the underbust or anything. So I'm just highlighting my sewing allowance here. Okay, so this is the actual measurement, the dart intake and the sewing allowance here. So now we are ready to put in our sewing allowance here on top. I'm just putting 0.5 inch as the sewing allowance at the top part. And at the bottom, I'm also putting 0.5 inch as a sewing allowance. So if you're going to maybe join this to something, maybe a dress or a peplum, whatever you're going to join it to. So we can then go ahead and cut this. Okay. and cut the darts also. Alright, so this is how your front should look like. Then we can now go to the back piece. Okay, so for this back piece I already just drafted it the way it was and just put a dart at the waistline. Okay, the chest line is here. If you want, you can just cut it out like this as a box, like the way it is. I've not added the sewing allowance to these measurements. So I'll go down by 0.5 here at the chest line, the same way we did for the front piece, so that these sides meet, or they match, I mean. Then here I'll go down by 1 inch at the chest line. Then I'll just join this with my free hand. You can use your curve ruler to sort of join it. So I'll just use my free hand to join this. Okay, so now that we are done, I'm going to just put in my sewing allowance here, which is 1.5 inch. Okay, do take note here. I have put in the actual measurements at the dart where at the waistline where the dart is. I've already put the dart allowance on it. So just the sewing allowance was what was missing. Okay, so just extend your line up to the sewing allowance. Then even here you extend your line up to the zip allowance. Then at the bottom you can also put your sewing allowance like this. Then you also put your sewing allowance here at the top. Okay, the same way that we did with the front piece, and I'll just draw it up with my free hands. Okay, you can go ahead and join it with your curve ruler if you have one. Okay, then cut your piece out like this. And we have our back piece. So make sure the sides align. The side of the back piece and the front piece should be able to align like this. Okay, after this you can go ahead and cut out the dart like this, and you have your back piece, which will look like this. So here are my front pieces and my back pieces are here like this. So you can just label, this one should be cut on fold, and I'm just gonna label this as back 1, back 2, then front 1 for the center one, and front 2. Okay, so don't miss out on the sewing tutorial of this pattern, guys. Thanks for watching. So since I've added these allowances, another thing remaining is the allowances that will be added will be just put at the center. Even this side I put the allowances on top and at the bottom, so the allowance will be just added at the center.